Hello everyone, welcome back to Jikook Diaries channel. Army is shook. Those 3 words are not even enough to describe what happened the moment fans started listening carefully to Jikook's new album. This isn't just about music anymore. This feels like decoding a diary written in melodies, lyrics, visuals, and emotional echoes that only those who truly pay attention can understand. From the first track to the final note, something feels different, deeper, more personal, almost dangerous in how honest it feels. And Army can sense it. There is a quiet electricity running through the album, like a secret waiting to be discovered, like a confession hidden behind poetic language and symbolic imagery. First, it sounds like art, beautiful, carefully crafted art. But the more you listen, the more you realize it doesn't feel random. Certain words repeat too often. Certain images appear in multiple songs. Certain emotions mirror moments Jimin and Jungkook have shared publicly over the years. The timing, the phrasing, the atmosphere. It's as if the album is speaking in code. Not a loud declaration, not a headline-grabbing statement, but something softer and far more intimate. A language only meant for those who know how to listen between the lines. Army started noticing patterns almost immediately. Lyrics about midnight promises, shared shadows, silent understanding, and a love that doesn't need permission kept appearing. One song talks about finding home in another person's presence. Another whispers about waiting in the same place even when the world pulls you apart. Another speaks of love that exists quietly, protected from the noise of expectation. These are not generic love songs. They feel specific. They feel lived in. They feel like memories disguised as poetry. What truly shook Army was how these themes align with Jimin and Jungkook's history. The way they've always gravitated toward each other. The way their comfort feels instinctive. The way silence between them is never awkward but full of understanding. This album doesn't scream romance, but it breathes intimacy. And intimacy is often more powerful than any public declaration. It's in the subtlety. It's in the details. It's in the choice of words that sound ordinary until you realize how perfectly they describe Jikook's bond. There's a particular lyric that made fans freeze. If the world asks, we'll call it coincidence, but our hearts know the truth. That line alone sent shockwaves through the fandom. Because that has always been the story of Jimin and Jungkook. Coincidence on the surface, destiny underneath. Every moment they share can be explained away logically, yet somehow it always feels deeper than logic. This lyric feels like an answer to years of speculation, not by confirming anything directly, but by acknowledging the quiet reality that exists beneath public perception. The visuals connected to the album made everything even more intense. Soft lighting, mirrors, closed doors, hands almost touching but not fully, empty spaces that feel full of presence. Symbolism everywhere. A shared color palette that reflects warmth and vulnerability. Scenes that look like memories rather than performances. It doesn't feel staged. It feels remembered, like someone is recreating emotions rather than acting them out. Army noticed how often the concept of home appears. Home as a place, home as a person, home as safety. For years, fans have said Jimin and Jungkook feel like home to each other. And now suddenly, the album is singing about it. Not loudly, but consistently. As if repeating the same truth until it becomes undeniable. Love isn't always fireworks. Sometimes it's knowing exactly where to go when everything feels too heavy. Sometimes it's choosing the same person again and again, even silently. Another thing that shook Army was the emotional maturity in the lyrics. This isn't teenage love. This is love that has endured distance, misunderstanding, pressure, and time. Love that knows when to stay quiet and when to speak. Love that protects itself. Love that understands sacrifice. That kind of emotion doesn't come from imagination alone. It comes from experience. And when fans connect that to Jimin and Jungkook's journey, the way they've grown side by side, the way they've always returned to each other emotionally, it becomes impossible not to wonder. There's a song that talks about hiding in plain sight, about being visible to the world but invisible in truth, about smiling for everyone while saving real emotions for one person. That line alone feels like it was written for Jikook. Their dynamic has always existed in a space that feels both public and private. They are seen, yet never fully understood. And perhaps that's intentional. Perhaps this album is their way of speaking without breaking the silence.
진영 연락 와서
아까 뭐 꿈에 나왔다고 하는.
나 입대하는 꿈 꿨대.
그건 꿈이 아니야, 현실이지.
예지몽이네.
ARMY isn't just shook because of romance. ARMY is shook because of bravery. Because to create something this emotionally transparent, even in code, takes courage. Takes confidence in what you feel. Takes acceptance. Whether or not their relationship is official in the way the world defines it, this album feels like a declaration of emotional truth. And emotional truth is more powerful than any label. The question, is this a sign their relationship is official? Isn't really about public announcements. It's about whether they are finally allowing themselves to express what has always existed. And this album feels like that moment. Not loud, not dramatic, just honest. Honest in the way only music can be. Honest in the way that protects privacy while still offering authenticity. ARMY feels it in their chest because it resonates with something universal. The idea of loving someone quietly. The idea of choosing someone in a world that watches you constantly. The idea of protecting a connection that is too precious to expose. This album doesn't ask for permission to exist. It simply exists, and that alone is powerful. What makes this even more emotional is how naturally Jimin and Jungkook have always expressed care for each other. Their comfort isn't forced. Their laughter isn't performative. Their support isn't conditional. And now, through music, that same energy is being translated into art. It feels like a continuation of their story, not a new chapter, but a deeper one. ARMY isn't reading this album like a conspiracy theory. They're reading it like a love letter written in metaphors. A letter that doesn't need to be signed, because the handwriting is already recognizable. Every emotional choice, every lyrical tone, every symbolic image feels aligned with Jikook's emotional language. Soft, loyal, deeply connected. Maybe this isn't about confirming anything. Maybe it's about allowing something to be felt without explanation. Maybe it's about saying, we know what we have, even if the world never does. And that, in itself, is a form of being official. Official in the heart. Official in intention. Official in emotional commitment. ARMY is shook because this album doesn't feel like fiction. It feels like truth wrapped in poetry. It feels like two souls speaking in harmony, not trying to convince anyone, just trying to be real. And real is always louder than rumor. If this is their way of saying, our story is ours, then it's the most beautiful way they could have chosen. Quiet, elegant, unbreakable. And maybe that's the most Jikook thing of all. And maybe that's why this album hits so differently. Because it doesn't ask us to believe, it asks us to feel. Whether these songs are secret messages, emotional confessions, or simply the most honest art they've ever created, one thing is certain. Something real is being shared here. ARMY, what do you think? Are these just coincidences? Or is Jikook finally speaking their truth in the only way they safely can? Drop your theories, your feelings, and your reactions in the comments. If this album shook your heart even a little, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay with us, because this story is far from over.